We're going to talk about some quarterbacks. Isn't that right, Zach?
Yeah, everybody loves the quarterback, and I think for a first episode, we really want to hit on the quarterbacks because it's the most important position in all of sports, not just football. Quarterback makes the world go round for a college football team. You only go as far as your quarterback. You ever heard that? Hear that get tossed around a lot, and it's pretty true. Maybe not all the time, but yeah. Let's rank our top quarterbacks for the 2023 college football season. And look, I know a lot of people are putting these lists out right now. We're in the middle of July. There's not much to talk about, like Brandon said earlier. But here's where ours is different. So a lot of people are ranking these quarterbacks based on what they did last year. And it's pretty simple to figure out. Like, everybody has the same top 3 guys at the top. They're really putting a lot of stock in what happened last year. That's not what we're doing. This is more predictive. These are going to be the quarterbacks, I believe. This will be their ranking at the end of this college football season. This is saying what they will do in 2023. It's not just going off of last year and history. I mean, of course, that's factored in. If they're a good player or not, I care about that. But this is really predicting what will happen this season. All right, Brandon, let's start with number 14. And it's going to be Graham Mertz, quarterback at the University of Florida. Honestly, when I heard that Florida was considering letting Graham Mertz transfer there, I was a little shocked because if you don't know who Graham Mertz is, this kid was a 3-year starter at Wisconsin, and he actually started out really hot his freshman year. People were like, "Oh man, Graham Mertz, Wisconsin can actually throw the football." That quickly went down the drain. Graham Mertz, he had a really bad sophomore season after his freshman year where he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Last year was a little bit of a bounce back. I think he had like 20 touchdowns, 11 picks, give or take some. But Florida let Graham Mertz transfer in. They don't have a quarterback. Well, they didn't have a quarterback at the time. They have Jack Miller on the roster, and some people think Jack Miller might win the starting job. But I think they're going to roll Graham Mertz out there because he has 3 years of starting experience in a Power 5 conference there in the Big Ten, and he's played some really good teams, some good defenses. Graham Mertz just has never done anything to make you say, wow. Graham Mertz has never been a superstar for his team. He's always just kind of been average, mid, if you will. Sometimes even worse than average. And coming to the SEC, I think he's in for a rude awakening. I know they play good defense out there in the Big Ten West, and he played a lot of those teams, obviously, but I don't think Graham Mertz is going to have a lot of success this year at Florida. And if you're wondering what archetype, I'm a Florida fan. I don't know much about Graham Mertz. He's a strict pocket passer through and through. He's not really a threat with his legs at all. But I will say this on the positive for Graham Mertz. He's going to a run-heavy scheme. They've got really good running backs there. Travis Etienne and, Trevor Etienne, sorry. It's his brother. And another kid, I can't think of his name, but they have a really good running attack, and Billy Napier loves running the football, so I don't think much is going to be asked of Graham Mertz anyway. But at the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if Graham Mertz is not the starter at Florida halfway through the season, and he's not going to have a very good year, in my opinion. All right, Brandon, let's roll on to number 13 on our list. It's going to be Peyton Thorne. Now, this one's interesting, I will say. We have another transfer. Peyton Thorne is a late transfer. He just came over from Michigan State not too long ago, a couple months. Just kind of transferred out of the blue. He was slated to be the starting quarterback at Michigan State this upcoming year, and things just kind of fell apart. I heard some rumors about some different things, him not getting along maybe with some of the players on the team, that sort of thing. So he has moved on to Auburn. And as he goes on to Auburn to join Hugh Freeze is known for having good quarterbacks and explosive offenses, obviously. But I just don't know if Peyton Thorne's that guy. They had Robbie Ashford last year. Now, that wasn't with Hugh Freeze, we all know. That was with what's his name? Coach last year at Auburn. I done forgot his name already. Brian something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was
Brian Harsin.
Brian Harsin wasn't
Yes,
a good
sir.
time. How do I forget that? Brian Harsin wasn't a good time for Robbie Ashford last year, but I thought he showed a little promise, but it looks like Peyton Thorne's going to be the guy. They brought him in. He has starting experience at Michigan State, and he's not a bad player. Like, he's a better player than Graham Mertz is. He's had better moments than Graham Mertz. But going and playing with a new head coach, a new offense coordinator, completely new weapons, all he's going to get is a summer to basically work out and then go start in the SEC. I don't see big things coming from Peyton Thorne, and I think Robbie Ashford could overtake the starting position at some point during the season. That's all I got on Peyton Thorne. We'll move on to number 12, and this might surprise a little people that he's not, usually when you look at lists talking about SEC, you expect to see that Vanderbilt logo at the very bottom. Well, they're close to the bottom, but they're not at the very bottom.
Hey, look, that's progress.
That's progress.
That's
progress. Slowly but surely. So A.J. Swan, and you probably are saying, this must be a freshman. I've never heard of him. No, he actually played last year for Vanderbilt, and he was a starting QB. He was starting QB probably, I don't know, the last 8 or so games. I know Mike Wright was the starting quarterback there at the beginning of the season. Mike Wright is now at at Mississippi State. And A.J. Swan. So why is he higher than Peyton Thorne and Graham Mertz? 1, he's younger. 2, he was actually really good last year when A.J. got to play. And I know you're saying at Vanderbilt. Listen, he beat Florida. He beat Kentucky. And his stats on the year are actually pretty solid. He's got an arm. This kid is not... Mike Wright was a scrambling QB all the way. Basically another running back on the field. That's not what A.J. Swan is. He's more of a pocket passer. He's the kind of guy that can whip the football in there into tight windows. He's got good arm talent. Now, the biggest drawback with A.J. Swan is he's on Vanderbilt and they don't have a lot of talent around him. That's his biggest drawback. But I actually like A.J. Swan. The guy can throw it around the yard, and he was only a 3-star recruit, and a lot of teams, I think, he's going in just to be a true sophomore. I think teams like Florida and Auburn probably wish they would have recruited A.J. Swan, because I don't think this is a kid who would only start at Vanderbilt. I think this kid's got some talent, some real arm talent. Not saying he's going to win a Heisman or they're going to win a lot of games, but he's a competent quarterback, and that's good for Vanderbilt. All right, man, let's roll on to number 11 on our list. That'll be Ty Simpson. Now, this one's interesting because Alabama hasn't announced a starter. You got Tyler Buchner, Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson. That's kind of the 3 that are in the running. And Ty Simpson last year was a true freshman. Jalen Milroe got in a couple times last year, if you remember. And Tyler Buchner is a transfer from Notre Dame. They went and they got him after spring practice, which made a lot of people think, oh man, Alabama doesn't like their QB room. They just went and got a quarterback. So that means Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe haven't won the job. And I think you're right. I think Alabama did see that they needed to add depth, because I don't think Milroe or Simpson just, got tied to a rocket ship and took off in spring. But I think Ty Simpson's ultimately going to win the job. Why do I say that? I say that because he's a better passer than Jalen Milroe. He's got a little bit better legs than Tyler Buchner. And I know he's the youngest one of the group, but he was a 5-star. This kid was highly touted. I think he's going to come in. He's going to beat those 2 guys out. I'm kind of out on Jalen Milroe, and clip this. This will probably be all over freezing cold takes, and this will look bad in the future. But Jalen Milroe to me is a worse version of what KJ Jefferson is, just more of a big running back in the backfield. I don't believe in his ability to pass the ball. I believe more in Ty Simpson's ability to pass the football. Here's my thing. Why is an Alabama quarterback 11th on your list? That makes no sense. Here's why they're 11th. They went out and got Tommy Rees to be the offensive coordinator there. And Tommy Rees was at Notre Dame previously, and he likes running the football. Saban has said to the media multiple times lately, we want to get back to running the football. We want to get back to being big in the trenches, running, being the way Alabama used to be when they had Trent Richardson, Derrick Henry, Eddie Lacy, that type of Alabama. So I think they're not going to ask a lot out of Ty Simpson this year. I think he's going to do a lot of handing the football off. He'll pass it on passing downs. And I don't think they're just going to ask the kid to go out there and be a hero. So I got Simpson at 11, but I think that this guy could be like a really, really good player in the future. But this being his first year starting, presumably, I don't think they're just going to ask a ton out of him. All right, moving on to our number 10 on the list. This is kind of the same case a little bit as Ty Simpson. Another young kid, and this is interesting to me, Connor Wegman, quarterback at Texas A&M. He was a 5-star, and this is funny to me. Jimbo Fisher is the head coach at Texas A&M, and he's on record saying Connor Wegman is the best quarterback talent he's ever had on one of his teams. Jimbo Fisher coached Jameis Winston, who won a Heisman and a national title. So this is pretty big praise coming from Jimbo. And Connor Wegman, he got in last year, and he wasn't bad at all. He's more of a pocket passer. You can see that little picture of him running. He's got a little mobility, but you can look at him running right there and tell that's not a very athletic run. But he's got some pocket mobility. He can get out of the pocket. He can throw it. And I like Wegman better than some of these other guys on the list, like A.J. Swan and such, because he's got some weapons around him. He's got Evan Stewart. But at the same time, he's got a new offensive coordinator in Bobby Petrino. I don't know how much I trust his offense. And if Jimbo has a hand in the offense like he always does, Jimbo hasn't had a good offense in a long time. And I don't know. I like Wegman. I like his talent, but I had to put him down here at 10 because until Jimbo proves me wrong and his offense comes out and is electric, it's going to be hard for me to just say one of their QBs is going to be one of the top in the SEC. But the big news for Wegman is he is young. He has a lot of time to grow, and I like him to be the 10th best quarterback in the SEC this upcoming year.